Hello, and welcome to Gut Health and the Immune System, our Winter Wellness series. I did this class last night and I had lots of requests for a recording of it, so I'm going to just record it privately so that you can hear what we had to say. I didn't record the actual class. But if you have any questions on this, please, this is like my passion right here to teach on this. So I will share with you what I know. I will share with you the process I've been going through to try and get our guts in better condition. It is a process. It does not happen overnight. So bear with me and let me know if you have questions, and I hope that you get something worthwhile out of this. So, gut health, why bother? Why is it so important? So the microbiome, I'm going to talk a lot about a microbiome. What is it? It is the microorganisms in a particular environment, including the body or a part of the body. So when we talk about the gut microbiome, we are specifically talking about the microorganisms that live in the digestive system, okay? More and more research is coming out with how the gut microbiome plays a huge role in health and disease affecting the body's metabolism, nutrition, physiology, and immune function. Huge, huge part of immune function, guys. One scientific journal that is called The Gut Microbiome in Health and Disease stated this, and I have that link if you want to see it. This is, there is evidence detailing host microbe interactions that influence immune functions at all levels. From the initial innate defenses to the complex acquired responses, there is a great interest in elucidating, which means making clear or helping to explain how the microbiota, that's the microbiome bacteria there, can influence immune homeostasis, which means equilibrium or balance, inside and outside of the gut, as this process has a big important implications for the pathogenesis and treatment of inflammatory disorders and a growing list of diseases linked to that inflammation. So that basically means, guys, that it plays a huge role in how, and we haven't even scratched the surface on how deeply it goes into disease and inflammation, okay? So facts about bacteria. The bacterial cells in our digestive tract outnumber our regular human cells 10 to 1. Skin cells, brain cells, lung cells, everything else put together, those bacteria, 10 to 1. There are 300 to 500 different species of bacteria in our gut. There are good and bad bacteria. We're going to talk a lot about that. When there is the right balance of good bacteria to bad bacteria, more good than bad, obviously, you can see the results like increased immune function, decrease or prevention of depression. We're going to talk about serotonin as far as depression goes, and decreased weight. And when I start talking about the supplements, we're going to talk about all of these things. The ingredients are in there are going to say help with weight, help with weight, help with weight. Because if your gut's working, you're not holding on to those extra pounds. When we see more bad bacteria than good bacteria, we find problems like inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, and obesity and type 2 diabetes. Fun fact, serotonin, which is a brain neurotransmitter that affects mood and sleep. 90% of it, of what our body makes of serotonin, lives in our gut, okay? So altered levels of serotonin are linked to diseases, and this would not have occurred to me. It doesn't necessarily make obvious scientific sense, but they found that serotonin are linked to diseases such as irritable bowel syndrome, cardiovascular disease, and osteoporosis, okay guys? So obviously we want to do what we can to keep the right balance of good to bad bacteria. How do we know if our digestive system is working properly to begin with, and how do we know how to keep that balance of good versus bad bacteria? Stay tuned to find out. So this is the next section here is everyone's favorite section. It's the one I talk about poop. It doesn't bother me to talk about it. I'm a nurse. We talk a lot about poop, especially at the lunch hour, but I'm sorry if it bothers you. Just bear with me. So optimal gut health. You should be having, this is how you know if you have good or bad gut health. This is one of the ways to know. You should be having 1 to 3 bowel movements a day. Most people think that 1 is enough. Some of my patients think that once every 10 days is normal. It is not. That it's not good for you to have 1 every 10 days. They should be a good soft but solid consistency, not watery and loose, not super firm. They should not smell. It should be kind of snake shaped. Like if it comes out straight, it's probably a little bit too firm. It needs to be kind of bendy. You should pass less than 20 times a day. So count it up next time, see where you're at there. And it should be odorless. Yeast or bacteria is what causes the smell as our stool passes through our digestive system. If you tend to be constipated, having that stool sit in our gut longer than it should builds up with bacteria and becomes more smelly and toxic. So typically people who have bowel movements only every couple of days or so are going to have stinkier stools, which makes sense. If you have a gut imbalance, you will have foul-smelling breath, more body odor, stinky gas, and stools. That kind of makes sense, right? When we have a gut imbalance, it also makes it harder to absorb nutrients like we should, especially nutrients like iron and vitamin B. Guys, if you're taking a bunch of vitamins and your gut's not working, you're not getting anything out of those vitamins. You got to have good health if you want to absorb nutrients from your food and the nutrients from your supplements, okay? It's just the way it is. So we may see those deficiencies either from the lack of those nutrients going into our body or the lack of our body's ability to unlock those nutrients from the food and absorb them because of poor gut function. When we have good gut health, we will see good skin and good immune function, and vice versa. When we have poor gut health, we see skin and nail problems and poor immune function. If you are sick all the time, work on the gut health, guys. It is where you need to start. How can we help support a healthy gut? Okay, big one here. I'm a nurse. I have trouble with just like handing out antibiotics like candy. Try to avoid antibiotics. Okay, obviously there are times they're needed. I am not saying do not go to the doctor and get antibiotics if you need them. I mean, it's just that if you're having a viral illness and they kind of are just throwing the antibiotics in there just in case, I don't necessarily agree with that because we don't necessarily need to have them. Now, if you develop a bacterial infection and you cannot fight it off, then sure, we need the antibiotics. But it should be like a last resort and not just thrown out there at the first. I mean, we can recover from a lot of illnesses, even bacterial illnesses. That's my 2 cents worth. So natural remedies can often combat colds and viruses, and no antibiotics are needed because they don't help fight the viruses anyway. So only take them when you absolutely need them. I'm not saying you shouldn't take them. I'm just saying be careful how often you take them. Now, taking probiotics. We'll be talking about a couple supplements here in a minute that can help with this. I think everyone should be on a probiotic. I definitely think everyone who's taking an antibiotic should be on a probiotic. And I have a couple different ways to help that. So we'll talk about that. Now, going back to different ways we can help support a healthy gut. Avoid sugar. Sugar promotes yeast and bacteria overgrowth. It also makes it harder for your immune system to function. It messes with the gut. It just doesn't. It messes with that bacteria. It makes it harder for it to work. Last year, 2 years ago, a group of about 15 of us did a No Sugar November challenge. It wasn't easy. It's in everything, guys. We really have to read labels. We have to think about what we're eating. As we learned quickly, sugar is hidden in so many things, sauces, dressings, just food that you would not think would have sugar in it. We're like, what? It has sugar in it. They add sugar. Okay. It makes it more addictive. It makes it tastier. It doesn't need it. You don't have to have sugar in everything. As the month went on, we were able to find ways to avoid it. We made a few mistakes along the way, plenty of mistakes, but it got easier and it wasn't that bad. Some of the participants at the end said that they had less pain, less inflammation. My mom has been doing no sugar since that time 2 years ago, and I really think she moves better, and she doesn't even realize how much better she moves, but her inflammatory process is much less than it used to be, just I think because of the sugar and because she's taking a few Young Living supplements that I think really help her too, but that's a different story. It helps with more balanced blood sugars. You have less inflammation. It helps with weight loss, and it helps you have more energy, guys. After 1 month, they were already reaping the benefits. We did it again this last month, and I felt like it went even better that last time. I kind of knew which foods to turn to for snacks and whatnot to help with the hunger and the cravings, but not have sugar in it. So if you need any help with that, I can definitely have some tips for you. So another thing to do to help support your gut is lower stress levels. This is a super hard one for me. I kind of thrive on a certain level of stress, and I can overdo it really easily. But it's a very good thing to be able to take a good hard look at your life and try to find ways to cut out the extra things that stress you out, or just put you over that edge. And it does make a difference as far as overall health and how your body, when it's not stressed, will function much better. Diet. We talked about sugar, but what about other things? Processed foods are so easy to find everywhere. They're fast, they're easy, they're usually cheap. And we're kind of one for, we still have pizza night once a week. That's not homemade pizza. It's the night that I work during the day, and I have a hard time, usually if I work night shift, I can have supper ready. But we do frozen pizza, or we do